Welcome to Building Great Sales Teams, a show dedicated to making sales teams tick, tick, boom. Great sales teams are not recruited, they are built, block by block. Let's get to work.
So what's your plans for the rest of the week?
Dude, the week's over, man. I'm going to sleep.
Sundays sleep in?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I didn't schedule anything. I have a few other calls today. So nice. A lot of follow up from the people I've met here.
That's
so,
awesome.
I mean, it's been great for me so far.
Yeah.
It's been a great event.
Austin is selling the shit out of it.
Dude, they're telling me that I think we have 150 stores that we're gonna get from this event. I'm like, all right, well, if we get a fifth of that, exactly. We're still good.
Exactly.
But they're pretty confident on it. So
no, it's been pretty great. All right, guys, we got Bennett Maxwell here. Bennett's been working in door to door since 2015. Is that right?
Yep.
And built up door to door teams in all kinds of industries, from what you told me. And then, but the claim to fame right now is probably starting a solar company in 2020 and then selling it 15 months later.
Yep.
That's amazing, first of all. And I've got so many questions on that because I just don't think sales companies are sellable. You know what I mean? So I would love for you to break that down for us. And then you did that because you wanted the opportunity to start franchising your Dirty Dough business.
Yep. I was trying to do them both at the same time, and it was tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. But what's crazy is you were operating two businesses at once, and you still managed to sell one of them. You know what I mean? So many of us that have sales organizations, they either just fizzle out, we pass them on. They're incredibly difficult to sell because you have to be selling to someone else that's, is doing what you're doing and can see the value in it. And the multiples got to be like 1x, 2x. You know what I mean? So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're married, you got a few kids and all that.
Yep, grew up in Orem, Utah. Got married in 2015. So I met her doing my first summer sales stuff out in LA, so that was cool.
That's awesome. Was she selling too?
No, we just met at a dance.
I gotcha.
We met at a dance. One of the sales buddies that I was with was talking to her, and I'm like, dude, she's cute, man. What's she saying, where's she from? He's like, I have no idea, dude. She doesn't speak English.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
Does she speak Spanish? So I swooped in there. Anyway, she speaks English now, but yeah, she didn't speak English before. She's from Mexico. We have 3 kids though, 5, 3, and 1.
We have that in common.
So
yeah, my fiance is Latina also.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, so did that. So that's kind of my background. It's always been door to door. I mean, selling stuff in elementary, I was selling candy bars on the freaking corner, and then I was doing door to door in junior high, selling lawn aeration.
Oh man!
And then I was selling cookie dough for wrestling and rugby as well. You mentioned you were playing rugby.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me to pay for this stuff, that's how I did it. I had to sell, and I always sold the most out of anybody. Yeah. Probably because I was in this rich neighborhood. So they all felt bad. I was the poor kid in the rich neighborhood, and everybody bought from me.
All the parents jumped in and everything.
So that probably set me up for success, and doing like those discount, like starving student type cards. Sold those for football, and anyways, all door to door though. So that's kind of my background. Got in 2015, did pest control. Just did a half a summer.
Okay.
They recruited me kind of halfway through. Before that, I was in Baltimore doing security installs. A buddy called me. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've already made."
So you went from sales to installs.
From installs to sales.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So I was out there, and I didn't know the sales game that they, a lot of these sales orgs will take anybody with a pulse.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, so I was like, he's like, yeah, I think I can make space for you. I was like, dude, if you can make space for me, man, I'll drive there tomorrow. And I drove literally the next day, I drove from Baltimore to freaking California to sell pest control. But that got me into it. And after that, next year, did pest again. So here I was, still a rookie. I've only sold for 2 months.
Yeah.
But I was the top rookie in that office in those 2 months that I sold.
So I want to find out, why do you think, whether it was, selling candy bars or selling pest control, why do you think you had that thing? Because you hadn't been formally trained until you started selling pest control, right?
No, I mean, it was really doing the like lawn aeration and stuff like that. and that was just for money. Like I didn't get an allowance or nothing like that. Like if I wanted money, I had to go figure it out. Yeah. And
do you think it was, because it's usually one or two things. It was the work ethic, or you had a natural ability to sell. So what do you think it was?
The work ethic. I'm not a super big extrovert.
That's fair. Yeah.
I don't really like talking to people that much. But if I got something to gain from it, I'll talk to them. So I mean, it's like, do you want to go in football camp in the summer? Well, then you go sell 40 of these, and it's like, done. I'll go sell them because I'm going to football camp, and that's my only option.
That's a heavy integrator right there.
So that's what I think. Just got into that. That's always been my mindset. Like when I left security doing installs, thinking that it was a secure way. Obviously, going to straight commission, that's a little bit more risky. But I kind of go off of the rich dad, poor dad, work to learn, not to earn. And so that's what I told myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to move across country with zero guarantees on anything. But I know that the worst that can happen is I learn how to sell.
That's such an amazing mindset to have at that age. I know I never did. I was always very results focused. I wanted to see what I would get out of an employment situation or something like that. And if I didn't see it, I would quit and move on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I got pretty fortunate. So I did Cutco knives.
Oh, yeah.
Right out of high school. So, I got all dressed up. I did like an interview, and it was all commission.
Yeah.
But same thing. I thought it was a real job. I mean, it was. I made money. It was good. Yeah. So I do the interview and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you, right? So let's start your training next week. I was like, cool. How much do you get paid for training? Oh, you don't get paid. I'm like,
commission only.
Screw you guys. Like, I'm not going to do free training. So anyways, I talked to my dad and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to take it. And he's like, why? He's like, and I told him, like, I'm not going to go spend 40 hours and not get paid for it.
Yeah.
And he's like, is this for sales training? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, people pay for sales training. Like, if this is free, go do it. And I was like, oh.
So what did your dad do?
He's been an entrepreneur. So he's a construction background. Him and my grandpa built the asphalt zipper is what it was called.
Oh, wow.
Tore up some roads. But yeah, here 20-something years later, it's still the only piece of machinery that's used for that. Wow. Still in business, but they sold that out in early 2000s.
Gotcha.
So he does that.
So it runs in the family.
Yeah, not so much the formal education. Like I didn't graduate, he didn't graduate. Most people in my family didn't. But the entrepreneurship aspect, everybody's always got, everybody in the family's got something going on.
That's awesome, man.
I got fortunate for that. But that's why I made the move. And then it was the mindset of what are the top guys doing that I can't learn to do. Not like that I'm not doing because I know I'm not doing a lot, but what's not teachable, what's not learnable. And anyways, that's how I kind of, the second summer that I went out, that's how I built a sales team. I showed up with 40 dudes. So I sold for 2 months and I got 40 freaking idiots to follow me, to follow an idiot out to North Carolina. And it was like all of our first year. I think there's like 1 or 2 people that had completed a summer.
Oh, wow.
And I'd never even started a summer at this point. So I got there. That was 40 dudes. Group. Yeah. I got there 40 dudes. But how I recruit a lot of them, like that was my focus is like, yes, we're going to make some money, but let's put that aside.
Yeah.
It's about learning. Like what industry can you go into that you don't need communication skills?
Yeah.
And really focusing on communication rather than sales.
I think because some of us get deep in the industry, we forget that we're actually giving them a gift.
Yeah.
We're giving them a gift of one, salesmanship, but also just that mindset, that growth mindset, that development mindset. And so we don't advertise that enough, you know, and we got to get back to that. So that's a great point that you're bringing up right there. So let's fast forward to, all right, when did you decide had you been selling solar already and then you decided to open up your own solar company?
So I was told that solar was this big, long sell and you can't do a solar summer, that's impossible. So I just kind of stayed away from it. And there's this company that said, a guy named Tanner Huber introduced me. And he's working for Enlight. He's like, we're going to do a solar summer. And I was like, but how? And he's like, fast installs, this and that. So I'm like, cool, let's give it a go. So that was summer of 2019. So I moved out to Sacramento area, probably May, sold for a few months. And I'm like, this is stupid. Yeah. Like I'm working 4 to 8, making twice as much money as Vivint Alarms. That's what I came from. And Vivint, I love Vivint. I worked with some great people there, made great money, but I'm like, this is dumb. Like I'm making $10,000 a deal and saving people money.
Again, another massive education from Vivint. Like I have stolen so many of their culture building ideas. And
Oh, yeah, they're great.
when I see their new hire pamphlet and all their swag, I mean, that's what we're all about now.
Yeah.
Once I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm stealing all that.
They do a great job, and they have all these training videos, and that's what I did. I just, every day, everybody else is listening to music. We're just dicking around. I'm watching the same video that I've watched 10 times, playing the video, pausing it, repeating what I just learned out loud until it becomes ingrained. But I would just watch those full sales videos that Vivint had, and same thing. It's like I'd never sold alarms, but I came in, with good numbers right at the gate because it was, what are these dudes doing that I can't learn, that I can't figure out? And I really do believe that it's like, so kind of back to like, I'm recruiting these 40 dudes, and a lot of it was, well, I'm not a natural salesperson. And that's like, well, are you a natural doctor? Are you a natural lawyer? Like, sales is a profession.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to go out and make 6 figures in a summer or multiple 6 figures in a summer, like, you don't think you're going to have to freaking study your ass off? Like, that's the key. And then let's try to cram, a freaking bachelor's degree worth of sales in right now, in a few months of, you're just going to eat, sleep sales, listen to the audio books and the sales training. And that's what I did. And then, so that's what I was pitching to people, is like, sales is learnable. Yes, you can be a born salesperson, maybe, but it's a learnable skill. So let's focus on that. And again, even if you don't kill it in sales, the communication, I mean, if financially you don't kill it, there's nothing better you can do.
Yeah, that is the foundation. If you want to be a business owner, you want to be a top level executive, you want to be any type of an entrepreneur, that's the foundation you need, 100%. And you just made a really great point, and we always forget that too, that you go to college for 4 years to be a doctor, you know what I mean? You go to college for 2 years to get into business management, you know what I'm saying? Why not look at your new job at this sales company as getting the degree and getting paid for it? You know what I'm saying? And it's not taught in school. It's not taught in high school. It's not taught in college. Salesmanship should be a college course.
Yeah.
Like, why is it not? It makes no sense whatsoever. And so that's a huge point that you're bringing up.
Sales has just a negative connotation, which is stupid, right? Like, sales has changed my life, and everybody needs to learn how to sell. But for whatever reason, you rephrase it and you say communication skills, then everybody's like, oh, I need some communication skills.
Yeah.
I want to go into business where I want to be a dental hygienist. It's like, well, do you need to talk to people? Okay, well then come out and learn how to talk to people. And when that shift, I think, again, I don't think we should have to make that shift, but because of the sales, especially here in Utah, I mean, this is where all the freaking door-to-door sales orgs are, right? So everybody's like, oh, the bros going and doing sales. I don't want to be part of those meatheads,
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was okay. Let's not talk about sales. Let's talk about communication.
Yeah.
And,
no, that makes sense. That's
kind of
a great way to put it. And a lot of the listeners that have, so a lot of the guys that listen to me are typically in construction, and they're trying to get that first salesperson, and so they think they need the bro, you know what I mean, or the elite salesperson. But all you really need is someone that believes in your product, and then maybe a little help putting together a sales program for them. Just that initial setup. But other than that, so back to when did you decide to make that leap? You were doing so I started solar summer.
Did the solar summer, and I liked it. I loved it. So then I'm talking to my wife, hey, do we want to do this year round? She's like, yeah, as long as we move to San Diego. So that was her condition.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I
that's the only city in California I've been to.
Okay.
And it was amazing. I had a great experience.
Yeah, so we lived out there for a little bit. Partnered up with my brother, Brent Attaway. He kind of did the sales, the marketing, and we started doing online sales. So he came out with me in Sacramento, and we did a little test.
Okay.
And we hired some people out of the Philippines, hired a lead agency, and they started, the leads came in, trained the Filipinos to call them, set an appointment, then to verify it the day of. So this was our test. We did 18 appointments, and I drove to all 18 appointments. I got 0 no-shows. I closed 16 of them the first set, and 1 of them the second set. And then the last one didn't close. And I'm like, all right, this is stupid. I'm only leaving my house for an hour or two, and I'm still making the same amount.
What you described, though, is what 90% of the people at the conference we're at are trying to do and can't figure out right now.
Yeah, it's but anyway, so but that was kind of like the okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, if we could kind of figure it out, let's go try to do this. So then we moved to San Diego, got our first recruit. Started in that January of 2020. A buddy that I grew up with, he came out and started doing the sales. Moved to San Diego with me.
So are you just recruiting closers because you're setting the appointments already?
At that time, that's what we were wanting to do. I mean, this guy had worked for Google Fiber, and he ran that program doing door to door.
Yeah.
So to kind of, I'm always very hesitant of like, yeah, we're going to provide leads, but you're going to have to door knock as well.
Okay.
So kind of like a hybrid model, and that's how we wanted to reward reps to keep them active. It's like every, I think we start out with like every 3 self-gen, or every self-gen close, you get like 3 leads or something like that, three appointments. Our issue was scaling it. When we started getting more reps to provide them all with confirmed appointments in a small geographic area was pretty difficult. But that's how we started.
Part
going.
was difficult, having too many leads and them not doing enough self-gen?
Getting enough leads.
Getting enough leads.
Yeah,
okay.
so let's say you have 5 guys. I mean, 5 guys can handle 3 appointments easily per day. That's 15 confirmed appointments. And it's like, well, how many, for 15 confirmed appointments, we're going to need, like 100 leads or so many leads, right? And finding the lead agent, the ad agency to get us that many leads, we struck out a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
we paid every company in the business.
That's why so many guys are just, they put, and I'm one of them. I put 40 grand into leads, you know what I mean? But I wasn't ready on my processings. I wasn't ready to bring them in and convert them. You know what I'm saying? Y'all converted them with the Filipinos overseas.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that
helped us a lot.
Figuring that part out is kind of the minutia in it all. You know what I mean?
So after that, kind of that solar summer, right? And then like, okay, I'm sold on this. Like, let's start it up. Let's do it. Let's start recruiting people. And we opened up our doors in January of 2020. And because we were doing door to door, but we were doing online. So then COVID hit, and it wasn't a hard transition.
Yeah, because
we were already doing it. So it's like, okay, well now let's. What we did instead of the people out of the Philippines nurturing the leads and setting the appointments, we had the sales reps do that.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Because now they have more time, and then the relationship early, a little bit of a higher conversion, or a decent amount higher conversion in those leads. But it's a different. Not all salespeople can do it. Like, they're not going to be watching their phone and then a message comes in, because like the lead comes in, you got to message them within a few seconds. So like that should be automated, right? And then
that's where we're failing right now.
Okay,
we're not on that. I think you and Wayne talked about that the other day, and he brought that to me, and I was like, son of a bitch.
No, it has to go out. Right. It has to go out immediately. And then it's, hey, I'm going to be calling from this number because you just filled out this form. Make sure to answer, whatever it is. I didn't do all the copywriting. That was my brother on that. He does a great job on that. But so you need a salesperson paying attention to actually call.
And so my instinct is, virtual appointment setter. And then let the salesperson just close. But I think the model that you guys built out is they've got to be on it as soon as it comes in.
What you just described, the first, the setter closer, that's the better way to do it. Is just, I'm kind of thinking like right in March, like right when we got shut down.
Yeah,
we had them doing
it.
Yeah,
you just.
But the salespeople a closer is better at closing. Yeah, and the setter's better at setting, and then trying to separate those is definitely the way to do it.
I was going to ask you about that because that's kind of what we're doing right now is, we're not afraid to bring in closers, but we also have appointment setters, whether they're door knocking, and then we have a digital or virtual appointment setter in-house. And so we're kind of trying to figure out how do we feed these closers without them having to kind of generate their own leads, And I had Jake Hess on about a month ago, and he kind of explained to me that that's what their model was. All the closers do is close, And so I was going to ask you about that because you said he coached you. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, in the beginning, y'all kind of started opposite of that. So where did you end up? Where was the final, like, okay, this is how it's structured and this is sellable? You know what I mean?
So we had much of that. I mean, that's what we were going for. Let's let closers close, setters set, marketers market type deal, and really try to hyper focus on what you're doing. So we were moving into that direction. Having these sales reps actually set for themselves was very short lived.
Okay.
A few months. So
okay.
That anyways, but yeah, that's kind of what we were doing. Moved a little bit further and then started hiring people here, US based, to do some setting as well virtually. And then we started closing virtually as well, again with Zoom.
Yeah.
And COVID, like,
you were forced to.
It was a great option. And again, I think we were primed to do it because we were already, starting that direction.
You had half of the process was virtual already.
But after like all said and done, the best model that we found is you're setting the leads virtually, but you're showing up and closing in person.
And that's where I'm at. That was my instinct, you know what I mean? And I've been told different things. You know, I've got friends that sell nothing but virtual, and they're really good at it.
Yep, some people crush it.
Guys that do nothing but door-to-door lead gen and closing in person. And then you know, they got the setter closer model, but then there's also the ones that like I set it, I close it, I do everything. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that sounds exhausting. you know? And so I think that's where we're going to end up as well. So appreciate the free consulting.
Yeah. No, I mean, the virtual closing, we did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Just conversion rates, for whatever reason, were the conversion rates to get them from sit to close was higher with door to door. And then also from close to install is a little bit higher as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And you can make a little bit more money. You don't have to be so worried about price, I guess.
So there was a post in the Solar Pros group this morning. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I haven't looked yet.
Okay. Well, basically the idea was sales orgs are going to go out of business, and that EPCs are going to be able to just hire these already trained and ready to go salespeople. You know what I mean? And that you don't need sales organizations.
Yeah, that post gets circulated once every few months.
Yeah, it's just to
like
stir up shit. I feel like, yeah, they just kind of want to stir shit up and get everybody, you know, kind of troll, you know. And you know, I don't want to be the guy that, because I'm a sales org, like I'm gonna argue this. You know what I'm saying? And so I try to look at it objectively.
And there's some truth to that, right? You got Freedom Forever. You can't be a dealer for them anymore.
Yeah.
Sunrun, you can't be a dealer for them. I mean, I've heard they brought that back a little bit. Vivint, right? Now they're Sunrun. So that was another big installer that you can't really be a dealer for. Now there's still a lot out there, but I mean, and then yet, you know, Empire was one of the large ones. They went out of business.
Yeah.
So it's like, it looks like it's gravitating to that, but it's definitely not dead.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever be dead because you'll always have the local installers that have no idea how to do sales, and they'd rather hire that out.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I think every sales org wants to be linear eventually.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whether that's buying a install group or
partnering up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's going to be hybrids of that everywhere. So let's get into, you know, a lot of what I talk about and I consult on is CODOC. And it's walking through it. It's compensation, opportunity, development, operation, and culture. You know, and it gets more important as you go down the line. And so in terms of compensation, did y'all pay the most in terms of closing? Okay.
No, there's always people that'll pay more. And it's typically not always, you know, related to the value, because it's like, well, if we're doing incentives, then we're not going to pay as much. If we're going to Mexico, because we live in San Diego, you know, Mexico trips were a must. It's like it's a little bit less, right?
Yeah.
So definitely didn't pay. I mean, I think we paid competitively, but didn't pay anything crazy.
You kind of focus a little more on your incentives?
Yeah, we try to, again, going back to the let salespeople sell, let managers sell. Like, managers are good managers. I mean, a lot of good managers aren't good managers per se.
Yeah.
And you need them to be leading from the front. So, like, the same thing, we're developing this back-end process in the Philippines. So what we would do is when a solar, so you have, you know, you close the account, now you also have to babysit it.
Yeah.
So how can we help sales reps babysit it so they can go sell another account? So we did like this whole gifting service. So the account's closed, we send them cookies. That was the first thing that they would get.
Man.
And then they would get a text from the Philippines, you know, somebody in the Philippines, not knowing it's from there, but hey, you know, we're sending you some cookies. The day that the permits were approved, hey, congratulations, your permits were approved. We'd love to buy you some, you know, dinner. Typically, we buy 2 pizzas from XYZ unless you want something else. And sometimes they're taking, you know, we're taking their order for the local restaurant that they love. Yeah. Or we're just ordering pizza. But we had that, and then we did like this welcome packet, and it was like, it was cheesy. My brother's a freaking cheese ball dude, and he loves superheroes. So you open it up, and it's like, you're not only saving money, you're saving the world. And it has like literally a superhero action figure. So I had like the Hulk in there or something like that.
That's freaking awesome.
And people loved it. And the kids would play with it. They would send us pictures. And then I think we sent them a bonsai tree once this install was scheduled. And it was called the Money Bonsai Tree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is a thing. That's real.
It's kind of a cool thing. And then day of install, we ordered them wine. So it was kind of like, let's make sure that we're touching them at least once a week. Because the sales rep should be, but they're not always doing it. So let's let the sales rep come up with this back end process. And then for the managers, it was, we do our meetings every Monday. So it's like you're doing like the throwdown Thursdays, you're competing. Well, on the back end, we were tracking that for them. So whoever won, they're going to get lunch ordered for them Monday during that meeting. But the managers don't have to worry about it. It's in the Philippines, our back end team is sending them a DoorDash link and saying, we chose Chick-fil-A today. You can order up to $15 for your lunch. And then they're eating it in front of everybody else during the meeting because they won. But the managers didn't have to track that.
Yeah.
So they could come out and they're doing we would give them like the incentive budget. Every cell goes in, we're allocating $50 a kilowatt, and then they have their budget, they have a credit card. So some autonomy there. But in the back end, we're really trying to do everything for them of like, oh, who won it? Okay, well, we're going to order that for them just to try to let the managers lead more from the front and just trying to sell and talk to reps rather than the organizational piece, because sometimes it's hard to find somebody that's good at both, and maybe you don't want somebody that's good at both.
So to your point, we have our operations admin right now, Cheyenne, shout out to Cheyenne. We recognized she was a good salesperson. She was an assistant manager at the time, but she was a freaking badass with the operational pieces, And so at the time we were heavy staffed, so we couldn't pick her up. We should have, but she ended up leaving and working for another company because she was knocking at 7 months pregnant.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
She's
totally her
getter.
decision. We didn't even know she was pregnant at one point, and then she, obviously we saw, I mean?
Right.
And she was like, no, I'm still knocking. She was knocking at all the way to 8 months, I think. But anyways, fast forward, she worked at a few other positions or whatever. And we were like, we need a strong operational person. And Wayne's like, hey, Cheyenne's doing this, and I think we can get her. You know what I mean? And so we went back and grabbed her. But I 100% agree with that. We're super aligned on a lot of this stuff. So first, the gifting, that's something that we just started putting into place. And but we only put it into place once it installed. So what was your spend by the time they installed? It sounds like it was about $200.
Yeah. It was like 150, but sometimes you're sending cookies and they cancel.
Yeah.
Right, and the cookies were like 25 bucks.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're sending pizza and they cancel, and that was like 35 bucks.
Yeah, so your break point was probably
but like our allocated budget, including the labor on the back end, the hourly time to send and message everything, we were budgeting about $200 after cancellations.
That's awesome. That's great.
So it's like $200 on a deal that you're making, 5 to 15 on. Like, who cares about $200?
So I read Giftology, John Roon, and that's kind of where I got that from. So what I want to start doing is once they install, for them to get a block of the Cutco knives.
Yeah.
But not it be our freaking logo on it. It'd be their family name.
Yeah.
And if we can, even research their family crest.
That's
and put
awesome.
it on the block. And so the whole idea is that every time they walk in the kitchen, they see their family name, they see their knives, you know what I mean?
And then who are they thinking of?
Exactly.
Or somebody else, at the dinner table, they invite somebody over. And it was actually, I think, Jake Hess. He would give them a fancy bottle of wine. Because he's like, when are they going to use that wine? When they're celebrating, they usually invite somebody over. And then it's like, oh, where'd you get this? Right? So it's having something in their physical in their house, whether it be a stupid tree. I went to a solar customer's, he's like, hey, come over. I got some other houses to sign up. I walk in there. This is over a year after I sold them and installed them. Freaking bonsai tree sitting right there. I was like, let's go, Luis.
Yeah.
You kept my bonsai tree, man.
That's awesome. And those are like, you got to take care of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're literally nurturing a relationship that was built off of a solar transaction.
Yeah. So I thought it was, anyways, the Cutco knife, so that's a big gift.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep that, and people are going to ask them about it, and they're going to mention
warranty,
it. Yeah. Cutco, dude.
Yeah.
I remember slinging those, man.
So, I did the same thing in high school. I did Cutco in high school for a little bit. I was horrible at it, and it's crazy. own a sales organization, but I don't consider myself a good salesperson. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I can sell the shit out of the opportunity. You know what I mean? It's just a different deal. But anyways, where were we? So the Cutco deal. So that's a great way to solidify yourself in the customer's mind. We just made an energy drink, right? Argenta Energy. And so shout out to Dennis Morales with Drink Labs. So it's a lot more affordable than you think.
Okay.
And so are you going to MDM, Ryan Stewman's event in Dallas? So we will be giving everybody free energy drinks at MDM.
Sweet.
So we're giving those away. And on the back, there's a QR code for a solar quote.
That's awesome, man.
And so every time a customer gets installed, we're gonna drop them off like 2 cases of these energy drinks, right? And then they're gonna have them for probably maybe a month. It depends on how much they consume. If they're in sales, and they'll consume 3 a day. But anyways, so then they're gonna hand them out to friends and family. They were free, and they got the QR code on the back. It's got our core values, our mission statement on there, and everything.
That's real cool.
Yeah,
I want to show you something after, but that you can do that QR code and incorporate it with augmented reality. So they're scanning that. So they scan it. A browser pops open. So there's no app required. You face it to this Red Bull right here, and then literally a Red Bull. It looks like on your phone popped up behind and flies away. And then you can say thank you for your purchase from your XYZ company name. But there's a lot of cool tech out there. We're doing a lot of that with our cookies.
They can post it.
And then they can post it, they can share it. You can do games. So like we're doing Subway Runner on our freaking cookie boxes. So anyway, just again, kind of side note. I'll show you after, but it's real cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If you guys are doing giving out some energy drinks for a little bit extra, you can have a full-on customer experience when they scan it, or like solar panels are popping up behind the energy drink. Click here for your solar quote, whatever.
So we were just talking about an MDM in our booth. We want basically a green screen backdrop.
Okay.
Them to take a picture and something crazy be behind them, like they're flying out of a plane or something like that, and they're holding the energy drink in their hand. Yeah. And so that's even better because we don't have to jack with the whole setup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just pops up with whatever background, and you can make it interactive. So we're doing that in our stores as well.
Can you go ahead and plug who does that?
Yeah, we're using Continuum XR. They're out of Vineyard, Utah.
Okay.
Fantastic. So they're doing. Yeah,
because I know there's like 17 business owners that just heard this and they're like, okay, I need that
who
company
do you go
name.
to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Continuum XR. I forgot the owner, but super cool guys. Super cool guys.
Check them out.
Doing games and interactions and stuff. It makes it a lot more experiential, or a better experience, I guess, for the customer.
So one thing I want to touch on before we get into the actual sale of your company is development. So you hired Jake Hess for was it coaching for you at that point, or did he kind of coach the whole team?
Yeah, it was the business. So it was me and my brother, but he would come into meetings and things like that.
Awesome. And so what did you guys do to train your guys? It's besides the 1-to-1 type training.
So we had a weekly correlation meeting on Mondays, and a lot of it was done in that. My brother's very big on screen recording, a quick screen record on this is how you're doing this is what we're implementing, send it out, watch it, and then you're tracking if they actually watched or not. So a lot of those were just like 5-minute videos, and we always try to, even 5 was typically too long because then they don't freaking watch it.
Is that Loom? How are you tracking it?
I don't know.
All right, I'll ask your brother.
That's a great question. Yeah. We do use Loom. I used it this morning. I don't know if that's how he was using it to track it though, or what the software was behind that. But a lot of that was, breaking it up into these 2 or 3 minute videos. That's how we did all of our sales training as well. Okay. So we'd onboard people and then give them access to this sheet with all the links, and then they're marking if they're done or not. But all of the training we do, there's so much info on YouTube. I'm going to show you all these videos on like just basic solar education, free videos online that are like 1 to 2 minutes, like super basic. We would require sales reps to watch those before they came to our first training.
And you would just like add them to like a sheet that they were all linked on, kind of thing, like an important link sheet.
So yeah, that's how we started it out with, and then we started building on a platform so they can go and take courses. But yeah, started out with just here's a Google sheet, and here's the video title, what's it about, the length of the video, so they know it's not more than like 2 minutes, and then they'll click on it for the link.
That's awesome. So I just actually spent a good amount of coin for my consulting division to it's basically it's a go high level setup. right? But the client's actually able to log in, access all the documents you've created for them, the sales program and everything. And then also, if they pay for it, obviously you can do custom training videos for their sales organization, and they can access that too. So I'm like, at this point, because I'm so invested in solar right now, I'm gonna do that for my company.
Yeah.
Set it up like that, as if, you know, Argenta Solar is the client, and then kind of build out that for them, so it's all automated and they can go through the checklist, and in that you can see if they watched it or not, you know.
No, yeah, that would be money, because it's also going to be a testimony for your other clients
Exactly.
of how I was like, dude, I did it with my own freaking company and it works.
All right, so I'm not thinking that I'm ever going to sell this organization. I'm thinking that I'm going to pass it on to my kids, and they're going to run it someday, and it's going to be able to print money for them, right? So what got that in your mind?
I also didn't think I was ever going to sell. I thought I was going to do it for, you know, a few years, make some good money, and then until I found out what else I wanted to do.
What's next? Yeah.
So it was kind of just a guy that I'd worked for or with on one preseason, so I didn't know him a ton, but Jason Newby at Vivint.
Okay.
So he moved to San Diego, and he is a phenomenal salesperson, phenomenal recruiter. And he had like 40 guys selling through a few different installers. They were just starting, so they had big volume. Anyways, and
their operations,
but the operations weren't set up
yet.
yet. Like they just weren't set up at all.
Yeah.
Where we had, I don't know, we were doing like 20 or 30 a month, so nothing crazy. But we had a good back end operations, and I was running the cookie company mainly. So like I wasn't even in solar a ton at that point. I was mainly doing the cookies. But we had just hired a really good ops person, and then they had a team, and then like a regional manager, and then they were overseeing some great managers.
Gotcha.
And they were kind of running the show. So, anyways, Jason reaches out and he's like, "I want to buy your company." I thought he was just bullshitting me. And I'm
wow. Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to my brother. Didn't talk to my brother. And then like 2 weeks later, same thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to my brother. Didn't talk to my brother. And then they went and met at some solar thing randomly, like without me introducing him. And then Brent came back. He's like, we got to hear Jason. I was like, all right, let's hear Jason out. So then we started talking with Jason, and it was basically there's Solar Integrated Roofing Corporation. It's a publicly traded company on like the pink slips or pink sheet stocks, whatever. So it's like low regulation, but it is public.
Yeah.
They did like 50 million the year before, and this was, right out. I think this was like April or May when we started talking, and we had done year to date 5 million in revenue, which again with solar is not a ton. I mean, it's a decent amount, but like between
is that 5 million in like gross profit, or is that 5 million
just
in retail?
gross? No, I mean even retail.
Price. Okay.
So they're counting because they just purchased an installation company. So it's like if they own the sales org and the install, then you're counting the whole thing. So that's what they were worried about. Like, oh, we could pick up you guys, we could pick up we could pick up Jason's and double our revenue maybe.
Yeah.
Pick up you guys, gain 5%, but provide some structure with Jason's.
So companies do that because, well, one, you had probably the most efficient back end out of everybody in that transaction, right? But two, then your purchasing power increases, your costs go down a little bit. You can start shaving margins, and the company you're buying doesn't even necessarily have to create this huge net profit, which it did. But if it gives you that,
they were after that revenue.
They were after
the revenue to drive stock prices higher.
Yeah, absolutely.
So same thing. Like I kind of ignored them the first 2 times because I'm like, why would you want to buy a sales company?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? You got dudes.
Yeah.
But I also didn't see really the value of what we had built on the back end, and I'm like, what? Yeah, actually, we do have a full team that's like, I'm not going to these meetings anymore. Like, it's running.
You're dialed in. Yeah.
It's running.
They're dialed in.
Yeah. So it that's kind of how it came about. Like, okay, let's do it then. So he bought us, and then he sold to the Solar Integrated Roofing Corporation. I mean, like within a week, both transactions happened.
That makes sense.
And then we plugged into that. There's 2 other companies involved, so there's kind of like 4 solar companies combining into one under Future Home Power. That was Jason's company. But all of them had like at least 1 or 2 admin people, and I mean the transition was as rough as they come. But at that point, it was kind of like, you sell it and then you want to implement and keep going with everything you're doing, but there's an organization piece, and then now you don't have control, right? And so it definitely didn't turn out like we thought we would, as far as
keeping it going.
But again, I was like, I stuck around, tried it, like, okay, what's the new org chart, and kind of pushed that. But we were just on a different page, and they were more like, sell. And I'm like, yeah, we need to sell, but let's organize. Like, that's what.
There's a reason you bought us. Yeah.
And it seemed like they never really used it, but they got our revenue.
Yeah, exactly. So was there an exit plan?
What was that?
Was there an exit plan for you? I mean, typically that's what happens when another company buys you. They're like, okay, we want to keep you on for 6 months. Here's your salary. Here's this, but you can't do any of this. Non-compete.
So that's exactly what it was, and a lot of it was based on, because I mean, it was a public company. Like, I can go buy their stock, so it was actual real stock, and I'm like, I don't trust stock.
Yeah.
I'm like, but if I'm gonna trust stock, maybe this one could be the one to trust.
Okay.
Because it's actual stock. All these like, oh, we're gonna sell at some future date, and you can have X percentage of the company.
Right.
Like that.
They may never
plans.
go public. Yeah.
But this one was already public, so I'm like, okay. So a lot, we were getting a percentage back of gross revenue and stock, and then anyways. So I kind of looked at it like I was already doing my cookie stuff. They would give a decent salary to kind of keep the lights on,
right?
But you're getting paid based off of revenue. It's about what we were getting paid anyway. So it's like, this was a good transition to get a little bit of cash and then some stock. Not happy to say that stock still hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
Surprise. But anyways, so I was supposed to stay on. But after about 2 months, I was just like,
you took it like an exit package or something.
I was unable to make any changes because I couldn't make the decisions anymore. And 2, I didn't ever get the stock. They never issued the stock from the sell, from the initial sell. So I'm like, when you get the stock ready, then let's talk again.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, he called me yesterday, and he's like, we got the stock ready for you. I'm like, dude, it's been a freaking year, man. Anyways.
So, I don't know if you can, but the juicy question is, how much were you able to sell for?
Yeah, we sold for a few $100,000. I mean, each in cash and a few $100,000 in stock. The big thing again was like, if we can get, I got $315,000 for my half.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's a nice exit.
It's some money. But the big thing was like, okay, well, if we did $5 million the first quarter and we get, a percentage of that back, we can make several $100,000 based off the stock. It's not just
the sale price.
Yeah. It was all based on that again, but that was contingent on staying in, and I did end up staying in. But that's kind of, it was, because again, they were looking for that revenue, and they're like, well, we'll give you back a percentage of revenue. And me, always working, a commission job, I'm like, oh, that's fair. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
Like, because I think I could get 10 million, right?
It's like,
and then I'd maybe get $1 million in stock. So that's why we did it. And then the cash was kind of just a little bonus on it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I did make the decision based on, well, what if this stock doesn't pan out at all?
Right. So you took a little more cash up front than the stock option.
Yep.
That makes sense. And then you also, I imagine you wanted that cash to get into Dirty Dough.
Yeah. I mean, I'd already purchased the company. It was already going, but it definitely helped.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than the freaking capital gains taxes.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah, so you had to immediately deploy that. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk about Dirty Dough.
Okay.
Where did that come from? And then, obviously there's a huge opportunity with that for everybody listening. And, you don't see stuff like this too often. So I definitely want you to stay on for this last part. So where did that come from?
Crumble Cookies is killing it. They're just absolutely killing it. My cousin's heavily involved with them. I try to get into buy franchise. They were sold out in Utah and the places that I want to live in. They required you to live there, and I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, cookies aren't going to be my profession, and then here I am. The cookies are my profession, dude. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go move out to run a cookie store. I just want to throw in some money.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to buy this company when I was in San Diego, and it was out of Tempe, Arizona, and I'm like, I've never worked in food.
Yeah.
But if I buy it and I could prove that I run it with no knowledge out of state, then
that's the franchise model.
That's the franchise model, right? Yeah. Then I can go and do what Crumble wasn't offering at the time of, like, you can invest in these stores and hire a good manager, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be your career.
Yeah, it needs to be passive.
So that's what I wanted to make it. So I bought the company, and then, identified the areas that sucked, which was labor and waste. Okay, well, how are we going to fix that? And after a lot of networking and meeting the right people, Like Jeff Finster was one of the first guys I spoke with. He's the owner of Everbowl.
Okay.
So he helped. He's like, no, you got to centralize it, do this and that. So basically, we took
a lot of our friends are invested in Everbowl.
Yeah. So he helped out, and then started bringing on some other, you know, just high talent to figure this out. So where we're at right now is we centralize all ordering to our warehouse here in Utah. So when you centralize your ordering, you're no longer going through the third-party distribution companies. Right. You don't have that markup. And then now you're not buying a 50-pound bag of flour, you're buying a truckload of flour. Yeah. So your flour and your sugar, your main ingredients are much cheaper. And then instead of mixing 70 cookies at a time in each location, we could mix 700 cookies at a time, right, in a giant mixer, and have a professional baker there to increase the quality control, rather than training, you know, hundreds of teenagers between hundreds of locations, or thousands of teenagers. So that's kind of the way we went. And then I found a machine that automates everything. So rather than weighing everything by hand, like what we were doing, putting little pieces of dough till it weighs just right, we just throw it in a machine. What we were doing, taking an hour to do with human labor, this machine's doing it in 4 minutes, and it's perfect consistency. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so now we're delivering these dough pucks, and they're 3-layer cookies. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. So you get this like large gourmet crazy cookie. Like it could be a sugar cookie on the outside, then you bust it up and there's a strawberry dough, and in the very center there's a marshmallow cream, right? Yeah. So like you're getting this cool cookie, but you don't have to spend the labor on top of the cookie, right? Yeah. So it was a very unique product, which is cool because typically like you go away from a unique product if you automate it, right? And we kind of got lucky and got both. Yeah. So hired on a CEO, Jill Summerhays. She founded Maui Wowie Smoothies and Coffee back in the 80s. First ever mobile franchise to exist worldwide. She grew that up to just under 700 locations, sold it, grew another brand from like, 1 to 90 locations. And I'm like, again, I don't know food. I'm not going to pretend like I know food. I still to this day don't know how to, I've never mixed cookie dough. I don't know how to do that. But
I love that though. I mean, that's the thing. Like so many business owners get hung up on, I've got to lead from the front. You know what I mean? What does that really mean though? That means you're busting your ass for your business every day. And too many people get hung up on, that means I have to go out and sell. I have to be the one knocking on doors too. I got to remind the guys who the boss is or why I'm the best. You know what I mean? And it's like, that is so short-sighted. It works temporarily. And then all of a sudden your business is not operating properly because your ass is on the doors. You know what I mean?
So E-Myth Revisited, I'd recommend everybody look at that. But that's how, when we got into solar, that's what we did. And that's why we were able to sell, really, is because we started, me and Brent, we built our org chart. How is this org chart? I mean, it was me and Brent. And then we had this big ass org chart, and mine and Brent's heads are in every single position. So it's silly, right? And then you focus on each position and you say, this is what this position is doing. And you build out the structure, then you go hire that person, then you work on the next position, So when we sold, I wasn't in the org chart anymore. Like I didn't have a responsibility. Right now in Dirty Dough, I don't have a responsibility. I have a CEO, I have a salesperson, I have a production manager, all that.
Well, you have a responsibility. You're selling the shit out of the business.
Well, yeah. And then I get to do this, right? And this is where I'm going to make the biggest impact, not making cookies.
So literally within 3 podcast guests, you and Justin Nelson, y'all just explain the same thing. You know what I mean? That you need to recognize your strengths, right? And yours is not mixing cookie dough. And it's also not scaling franchises.
Or even honestly managing. Yeah. Like even with sales, like I suck at managing.
It's being a rainmaker. You are the rainmaker for the company. You know what I mean? And so it's going out, pitching the franchise and getting franchisees. And that's how you go from 1 to 90 like Jill did. Yeah. Or 1 to 700.
Yeah. You know so we started franchising in December. And our pitch is like, okay, you have these other cookie companies and they kill it. Yeah. And that's a great option. But here's another option for you. We're half the cost. We're half the labor per dollar of revenue. You get a cookie, a pre-portioned cookie puck. You put it in the oven. When the timer goes off, take it out. Yeah. If you don't, you messed up. Yeah. It's like, but you're not putting in too much baking soda. You're not weighing the cookie incorrectly. Like that's all done on corporate. So it's the simplest food franchise model in existence.
It's an easy bake.
It's as easy. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So like we can do a third of the sales of our competition at a not a crazy margin, and you're still getting a 50% ROI. So, and then we've teamed up with like Pie Syndicate that we're with at SolarCon. They're offering 100% ROI.
Dude, those guys
guarantee, and it's like
those guys start talking, and I'm like, Wow, I don't. You lost me like halfway through the conversation.
Yeah, Jerry.
I'm like over here taking notes.
They're awesome. Jerry and
Yeah.
Austin and his family. They have like 100-something Five Guys and Zaxby's, and they know the restaurant business. They know how to run it. So we have these solar people that have money.
Yeah.
And our first one was a buddy, and like he made over $1 million last year. Personal sales. So it's like, he's like, oh, let me buy a franchise.
Deploy this.
Yeah, he's like, and these like without any leverage, all in, you're like 175, 200. Like these are low costing franchises. So like this is nothing to him. He made it in a few months. We get on for like closing. He's ready to wire some money, and Jill, she's like, no, I don't think this is a good fit. I'm like, what? Jill, this is my friend.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Anyway, so it's like, okay, well, who can we team up? Somebody with money that wants a good investment with somebody who's a great operator. Going back to like, that's what we did at Solar, right? It's like, let's let salespeople sell. Let's let money people, like, you're going to make more money knocking doors than managing a cookie store. Yeah. Can we get you to do both though?
So the pie syndicate's that in between.
Yep, they make it a white glove service, and we've done that as well on the corporate side. We've done a corporate franchising model, so we own and operate everything. We own 51% of a group of stores, so kind of have two different options for people to get in on that. But I think, really what I was trying to do is provide the most simple food franchise so people can get in. Like myself, I wanted to get in 3 years ago, but it's like, what, do you want to move to freaking Albuquerque to run a cookie store? Hell no, I don't want to move to Albuquerque, dude.
Yeah, or Chick-fil-A is the same way.
Yeah,
like you gotta work in the
and it's like store. It goes against the E-Myth, right? The E-Myth Revisit is like, the whole premise is, if you have a job, if you're a business owner that doesn't make money when you're not running the business, you have a job and you have a shitty job. Absolutely. Because you work the most and you get paid last. So
absolutely,
like, do you want a business or do you want a job? And I wanted to create a business investment for potential investors, rather than a job. I don't want people just subbing out a job. So that's kind of where we created it. We've sold 57 of these in the first 4 months, and I think from this event alone we'll sell several dozen. We have another 15 pack closing here pretty soon. Another 13. Somebody buying. So I think we'll have several hundred of these by the end of the year. Probably 200.
That's amazing. So
it's going good. People like cookies.
Here's the part we didn't even talk about yet, which is the best part. Holy fuck, are these cookies good? I had one of the and Ryan, our media guy, shaking his head back there because he had some too. I had one of the sugar cookies.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I was like, okay,
one. Yeah,
it's good. Okay, but then I had one of the chocolate ones. And I have no idea what it's called or any of that. But I bit into this thing, and chocolate comes pouring out onto my lips and everything.
So that's that 3-layer cookie.
And I'm a mess, you know what I'm saying? But I'm a happy fucking mess. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, we didn't even talk about that, and most investors don't care about the end product. They just want to hit the numbers. The numbers work, they're good to go. But I believe you should care about the end product.
Yep.
The easiest way to sell is be passionate about your product, which obviously you are. So I think that's the biggest thing there. So there's a lot of opportunity. I'm excited about what you're doing with it, and I can't wait to get my money out of other things so I can get it into that.
Yeah.
So that is a hell of a story. You know what I mean? And coming from the entrepreneurial family that you did, but then going out and doing it on your own too. Obviously, your dad wanted you to make your own way, and you did that in pest control, and then eventually in solar.
And when I jumped in with Brent, again, I'm like, I know I'll make more money knocking doors. But it's back to the work to learn, not to earn. Brent, he's 13 years older than me. And he bought a franchise when he was like 22 or 23. So like he's been the entrepreneur. So I'm like, if I don't make any, I could go knock doors and probably make $1 million.
Well, like you said, your friend made $1 million in a year.
I'm like,
but even he recognized, like, hey, I need to deploy this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be working my ass off,
to get that. So, but that's really why I jumped into it. I'm like, I will make more money off personal sales, but I will learn more by trying to run a business.
Yeah.
And I did, and now that gave me the confidence to buy Dirty Dough, and Dirty Dough is definitely taking off. And building the enterprise value in a franchise system is it just goes up really quick.
Yeah, there's, I've probably got 2 people in my organization right now that make more money than I do, and I'm the owner. You know what I'm saying? But I'm playing the long game.
Yep.
And it's like
going for that enterprise value.
I can get on virtual right now. I can set it up to where I got 15 leads a week, close 3 of them a week, probably make $1 million in a year. But again, I want to do that investment. I want a passive income. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a job. I want freedom.
And you're investing, your time into the skills required to make it passive.
Exactly. I really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, man.
We've had a busy few days.
Yeah.
You've been incredibly busy. I know we're both exhausted right now, but you still showed up here and did this podcast with me. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, appreciate you.
How can people get a hold of you?
They can visit me on my website, bennettmaxwell.com, BENNETT. And I just started doing like a in the trenches report. So just like what's going on in the business, like the nitty gritty. I hate this like stigmatism of like, you don't talk about how money and how much money you get paid and this and that. Like, I like that you just like, how much did you sell the business for? Yeah. And to answer that a little bit more direct. So I got 315 and then it was a few hundred, I think it was 350 shares, 350,000 shares of stock.
Okay.
And then I was getting more shares of stock, and that's where but
so
really talking numbers.
A seven-figure exit. Yeah. Okay.
So even though, jumping into like what I'm trying to do with this, like the end of trenches is like, it is talking numbers, like actual physical, dollar amounts of like, oh, we're making this. We just freaking spent this much money and got screwed over this much.
That's not going to stop me from going and buying a $4 cookie, especially if it tasted like the one I had the other day. It's not going to stop me. Because that's the whole idea. It's like, well, if you tell everybody what we make, then they won't support our product. Hell yes, they will. Like, 100%.
Anyways, and it's all cause based, and we're out of time right now. But we everything that we do, every dollar that we make ourselves in our franchise, we have a nonprofit we're giving back to mental health awareness and education for kids in K through 12, building wellness centers, and it's all about catching kids in the stress and anxiety stages before it goes to the depression, suicide stages, and teaching them mindfulness, breathing techniques, happiness mindset. All meditation, guided meditation, things like that, and trying to. So, anyways,
I'm 35 years old and I'm just finding that stuff, man.
Yeah,
so that's
where
amazing.
I'm at too.
Yeah.
So we're funding a lot of these schools. I think we'll have several hundred of these within the next probably 2 years that we funded.
That's beautiful.
So really pushing that. But yeah, if anybody wants to follow me, and then all my social media is on there. But really trying to be as transparent as possible and. What we stand for at Dirty Dough, it's a dirty, messy cookie. Life's dirty and messy, but it's meant to be enjoyed. We're fighting against that stigmatism of like, I have my average life and I compare it to your perfect life on Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's just about being raw with like, shit, we just paid 2 companies $10,000 each to do the same damn thing because the first one screwed us over, But like actual dollar amounts and like what we're doing good and what we're doing bad.
Well, there's a lot of education in that.
Trying to get people more in that mindset, and I just feel like it's too ambiguous a lot of times, like, oh yeah, I sold this, or like we lost some money. It's like, well, what's some money? So just trying to really get down in the trenches.
Absolutely. So what is there a certain organization that you guys are supporting?
So we're doing our own.
Okay. So you're creating your own from scratch?
Yeah, we're creating our own on Tuesday and meeting with the lady, and then she said she'll have it up for me in 5 days. Our nonprofit. We are affiliate. I mean, we are donating to some other ones. One, it hasn't been finalized yet.
It's a pass through. Some of it's passed through.
Some of it's a pass through.
Yeah.
But we are contacting these schools directly and saying, hey, if we fund this wellness room, do you guys have a room to convert, right? And can you guys run this? And then, but we're in-housing that. I just want to make sure that it's done correctly.
It's done right.
But there's some other educational programs that we're teaming up with some other ones to do, like the happiness mindset stuff.
Nice.
Education towards parents, so things like that.
Awesome. What is that organization going to be called? Because obviously you have to have a separate nonprofit.
Yeah, probably the Cookie with a Cause, something like that.
With a Cause, okay. But as long as they follow you, they're gonna get that information.
Yeah, I have to come up with a name in 3 days. So. No, I have a few things, but something like pressure. That. Just the Cookie with the Cause, something like that.
Awesome.
Trying to make a difference with our cookies.
No, that's huge, and I'm glad you made a point to talk about that, because some people may just want to go and donate directly towards that cause. So that's awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna wrap it up.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Building Great Sales Teams. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. Remember, great sales teams are not recruited. They are built block by block. Until next time.